So it was a few years ago on a Tuesday in March when I had my first appointment with a mental health counselor on campus. And just like we eat right or exercise or try to get some sleep every now and again, I was doing something proactively to work on my overall health. And I knew it was something I wanted to treat, help it get better before it got worse. This should have been a good thing, right? But my own internal bias around mental health, combined with the external stigma around the topic, had an anxiety-inducing impact on me. What should have been a good, positive experience instead had me feeling like this. This is an actual photograph of me on that fateful day a couple years ago. Now, I can distinctly remember planning both the timing and the route of my walk to the mental health center that day in order to minimize any possible human interaction. I arrived on scene poised to potentially have a positive experience with the professional, but I refused to let that happen. I was antsy, I was looking at the clock. I felt like I was talking to like a chatty weed dealer or something. I was like, get me out of here, I can't be seen with you. No, I opened the door, ready to plan my escape, and right in the waiting room, the smart girl from econ class that I had a crush on. I thought, I'd just seen Jurassic Park a couple nights before. If I don't move, she won't see me. It turns out this girl was not a dinosaur, but she did actually notice me, and she said, hey, how's it going? Given the context of where we were, I overanalyzed the hell out of my response to that question. I shouted, good, I am so good. I'm doing really well. Looking back on that experience, there's a few questions I have, right? Have I changed? Have I come to terms with how I feel about depression, anxiety, and mental health? Have we changed on college campuses and beyond? And perhaps the most important question of all, is that girl from my econ class still in the waiting room? Now, fast forward to today, and I'm a graduate student here at Drexel studying data analytics, and I also lead marketing at NeuroFlow, a mental health tech company just down the street in Center City, Philly. We built a mobile application that helps support and reward people for working on their mental health. The ultimate goal of bridging the gap between providers and patients when it comes to behavioral health. And just like any tech company, whether it's hardware or software, there's a lot that goes into building the end product, right? How you build it, how you message it, and how you design it. It's an awesome opportunity to build something that thousands, or maybe even one day millions of people might use. But with that opportunity comes a responsibility. Responsibility to ensure that no populations or underrepresented groups or cultures are left out of the equation when it comes to innovation, technology, and design. It brings us to the topic of inclusive design. Kat Holmes is a senior UX designer at Google, and she's sort of a thought leader on this topic, and she defines it as designing a diversity of ways to participate in an experience that creates a sense of belonging. I think it's a nice way to sum it up, right? There's inclusive design all around us, right? Road signs that are built for people regardless of language or reading ability, building entrances for people with physical disabilities, or even kitchen appliances that are built for senior citizens or those with arthritis, right? Inclusive design is important in the products we use every single day. I'd say that importance becomes a necessity when we're talking about healthcare, the field in which things like costs or cultural competencies or systematic inefficiencies create disparities or barriers to care. Even more so in mental health, where the ailment is invisible. But those disparities are just as, if not more, prominent. The Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality noted that of all U.S. adults with mental illness, 48% of white patients got services and treatment. That number drops to 31 for African Americans and Hispanics, and 22 for Asians. Now, inclusive design has the power to address these gaps and address these inefficiencies. But when it's not part of the equation, when inclusion isn't part of the discussion, you run the risk of widening the digital health equity gap. And the results could be biased at best or potentially life-threatening at worst. Now, like I said, I'm a marketer, and I'm an absolute sucker for alliteration. So some of the business students might remember from their intro to marketing textbooks, the 4 Ps of marketing, right? I won't see any copyright here, so I'm going to blatantly just rip this off and instead talk about what I call the 4 Ps of inclusive design. And so that's purpose, people, process, and product. We start with purpose, right? The why behind your idea of business. Mental health, it's simple. I venture to guess that everyone in here, if not personally, perhaps through a friend or a family member, has been touched by the mental health crisis. On top of that, there's a widespread shortage of behavioral health professionals. So that means that access to resources and training and support is an everyday challenge for the millions of people living with a mental illness. Now, it's interesting, right, because we talked about bias and exclusion earlier, but These are concepts that depression and anxiety are completely devoid of. They do not care about your age, your gender, your race, your ethnicity, or really any of that. There's some populations we see here that make up the 20,000 people that we support in NeuroFlow. To give some context, that number was 2,000 last year, right? So that's really exciting growth. But with that growth comes more diversity, more underrepresented groups, and more of a reason as product designers that you can't try to build a one-size-fits-all solution. You need to understand and appreciate the diversity of your users so you can build a product for them and the people that are going to come after them. So how do you do this, right? How do you disengage with these existing but unconscious biases so you can create fair, equitable products for everyone? Well, one of the ways is through professional-led trainings or certifications that focus on cultural awareness and sensitivity. So you can create groups and organizations and teams that can overcome these challenges, right? A few months ago, we had the whole team come in on a Saturday and get trained in mental health first aid. And we're all smiling with our certifications there, but anyone in that picture will tell you that was not an easy day. Had a lot of us feeling vulnerable and uncomfortable. It was important, right? Because you have to understand who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, because you take those into the products that you're building and design. Now, you can't do this alone. You have to enlist your users to help you identify these biases. And the only way to do that is to talk to them. Surveys, focus groups, user advisory boards, just good old-fashioned phone calls. You've got to empower your end users to help you identify and test any assumptions you might have. These discussions will eventually lead to the products you're building and inform those decisions. Now, we're really excited about some of the features we built in the product to help make mental health resources accessible to everyone. But we'd be kidding ourselves if we thought this was a one-time solution or a quick fix. It's not. Inclusive design needs to evolve as your business, as your product evolves as well. You need to keep creating ways for more people to engage with your services. Make sure that those experiences are comparable and equitable across all populations and groups. Now, we return to our friend here because I believe that no one, especially here at Drexel, should have to feel like this when it comes to working on or addressing their mental health. The university has invested a lot of resources, both peer and professional-led, to help students access help whenever, however, and wherever they'd like. Now, we talked about the opportunity, or really rather the necessity, of applying this idea of inclusive design in mental health. But this can and should go beyond mental health, right? I'd ask you to think broader about the application of it. Whatever you're studying right now, whatever career path you might choose in the not-too-distant future, how can you take a fresh, new approach at what you're building, what you're designing, what you're bringing into the world, so that everyone, no matter who they are, where they come from, or what they look like, can benefit from it? Thank you.